Hi everyone. Today we're going to finish the Imperial Fist Terminator that we started in the last video. We showed how to lay down the base using the new Ultra airbrush by Harder and Steenbeck, and now we're going to go in and paint the details, add a transfer, put some weathering on here, and then we're going to have a nice looking marine ready for the tabletop. First thing we want to do is cut out our transfer, and then just be sure when you're going through not to actually cut on the transfer itself, and they give you enough room to go around. To get the transfer off of the sheet, it's actually quite easy. Just lay it on a paper towel, and then we just want to add some water. We're going to use two solutions, the first one being Micro Set and the second one being Micro Sol. And then we also know this because they're marked up at the top, 1 and 2, and then so Micro Set will be the first one we use. I usually like to put a decent amount on here. This won't affect your paint below in any way. And that's just in case I need more room to wiggle it around. And then to get the transfer off, just kind of slide your brush over the top. When it sits in the water that long, it really becomes easy to work with. I'll get my brush under it and try to get it positioned as best we can to where we want it on the model. And the good thing about these transfers too is they can be manipulated, since we do have that micro set lane below if we needed to move it more. This, however, doesn't look too bad. We let most of the micro set dry, and as you can see there are some air bubbles and some crinkles in there, and then that's where we bring in the Micro Sol. Just apply it to our brush. I like to start in the middle, and you don't want to do a bunch of pressure, so you don't want your transfer sliding off or sliding around. If that did happen though, we can simply apply some more Micro Set and then slide it around. Another thing, we can use a Q-tip, and we can just roll it over really gently. Next paint you're going to want to use is a black. I'm going to be using Abaddon Black, and we're using that to base the gun and then these sigils that I've already done so far. And they're going to be taking metal along with tubes. And in between the legs here, you're going to want to use the black. We're going to come in with the Fist in Red to do the chest piece and the little sigil there. And since I'm using air paint, since I don't have the actual Mephiston Red, we can just use this straight out of the bottle. Now that we have the red down, we're going to go in with our metal, do all the silver parts, and for that we're going to be using Gunmetal by Vallejo. We're going to move on to the little sigils there and do the fabric. We're going to base those in Rakarth flesh. We're going to move on to doing some washes. We're going to be using non-oil for the metal, and I'm going to be using Seraphim Sepia for the fabric here. We're going to edge highlight the model with phalanx yellow first, and then some of the more raised areas with dorn yellow. In doing the edges, most of it is just moving the model and positioning it away to get your brush right down that edge nice and clean. We did a little bit of the highlights on the chest. I just used some Evil Sun Scarlet over the Mephiston Red, and we did the same thing. Just layering it over the top of those wings, and then I would add a little bit of white, and then just go further out to the edges with each color. So this is Mephiston Red, and this is Evil Sun Scarlet, and then the final one is Evil Sun Scarlet mixed with a little bit of white. Now we'll move on to the gun, and we're going to highlight that and all the other black with Storm Vermin Fur. We're going to switch over now and highlight our silver. And I'll just be using the Vallejo metal color. Our next step is adding battle damage to the model, now that we've got all our edge highlights going on. And for that, we're going to use Rhinox hide. I got myself a tweezers with some packing foam. And I just rip that off, and what we do is dab it in our paint, get a paper towel, and we just dab most of this off. Already started on the hand, and I kind of wanted that to be worn out the most. It can help if you just kind of stick to the edges. After the sponge, we'll come in with the brush, and that way we can do some more kind of designated, you know where I want it. Now that we have all our battle damage on there, we're going to come in and highlight that and give it some definition, give it a little 3D, and we can do that by putting some silver in here. You're going to want to put your silver on the inside of the brown and leave that out. Once we highlight all the battle damage with silver, we're going to move on to covering the entire model with streaking grime, and that'll help tie it all together. Now once the model is covered, we just wait for 30 minutes. And now what we're going to do is come in with the white spirits, reactivate the solution, and then you wash the brush, dry the brush, and then just absorb. Now it's time to move on to the eyes, and I blocked this off using AK camouflage putty. And for the paint we're going to lay down first, we're going to be using some transparent white, and I'm going to be pushing this through the Ultra airbrush. We applied our white using the Ultra, and I used it on the third setting on the collar there at about 15 psi. We're going to do the same thing, except this time we're going to throw in our fluorescent, our scarlet. Now that we have the fluorescent down over the white, we're going to go back in on those lenses and just do the eyes white, and then we'll lay the fluorescent over that again and we'll be done. We're going to move on and paint the camera lenses. The first color we want to do is base it with Caliban green. The next paint we're going to use is Warpstone Glow. Now what you want to do is apply the paint to the bottom or the top, depending on where you want your reflection. And not quite halfway, but maybe just about. Just cover a good part of that. Our next color is Moot Green, and we're going to be layering this over the Warpstone Glow. So you want to be really delicate and just put a little bit on the inside of your last layer. With all our colors down on the lens, we're going to come in and do one spot highlight of ivory up at the corner. Now we're just going to come in very delicately. You can even kind of see the light is putting the highlight where we're going to want it, and we're just going to do one little dot. Once we get those lenses painted up, the model is complete. Doing something like this took me roughly around 30 minutes, and I owe a lot of that to the streaking grime. And that's because we can apply our bases and our highlights pretty quick and almost in a sloppy manner, because the streaking grime will come in and cover a lot of your mistakes. And we can also do that by using battle damage and doing designated areas with the brush. I'll have links to all the products I used in this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.